On July 8th, 2015, the opening joke of the Rule Thirds podcast became self-aware. That is a smart joke right there, ladies and gentlemen. If you weren't invested in this podcast, you are now.
Sean, I don't even.
I thought that this morning. I'm really proud of it. Don't take this from me. Don't take this. It's beautiful. It's a beautiful joke.
You're not even
Max
the
would
host.
appreciate
You're
it,
not
okay?
even the host. Okay, you don't even deserve to have this kind
Max
of a joke
would
in the
appreciate
opening.
it, but he was like, I don't know. We could make some joke about time travel. He was killed off. Whatever. I don't know. He's not here. He would appreciate it.
I would make a Terminator joke, but that's cliche and overdone. So I'm not going to.
Would ever do that?
Yeah. Anyway, if it wasn't already inherently obvious, thanks, Sean. We're reviewing Terminator Genisys. Woohoo!
I also could have made a Star Trek joke.
No, we're gonna no. We're gonna stop. Fifth installment of the Terminator franchise. Arnold Schwarzenegger. Does it hold up? We'll find out. My name's Larry.
My name is Sean. Why are we saying our intro's weird?
I don't know. Let's just finish this. Let's intro music now, please.
Yeah, listen to the intro music, but don't worry. We'll be back.
I hate you, and I will always hate you. Why hasn't the theme music started yet? All right, so we are here. You might have noticed, unfortunately, Mr. Max Mariner cannot join us for this review. He is currently doing a very hard-pressing job at his internship, which I don't...
Super secretive.
Yeah, I don't think we're allowed to talk about it.
You can't tell anyone, apparently.
Right, but it's important, and unfortunately just didn't have time to really see Terminator or fit in this review, so, Max, don't worry, we're not forgetting about you. Anyway, so Sean, how's your week been since last episode?
It's been pretty good. I saw a little indie film. I don't know if you've heard of it. Like, you should probably just get on to be ready to look it up. Ant-Man.
Is that really obscure lead actor?
Like Art House.
That comedian, Art House, yeah. Paul Rudd, right? Like, he's been in a couple of experimental stuff, French New Wave.
Yes, French New Wave. French New Wave was like, I want to say 80s, but I'm probably off. It was probably,
I don't know.
It was way before that. Oh, I'm stupid. It was way before that. I forget about French New Wave because those movies are boring.
I don't know.
Lost all my film school cred.
I know that French New Wave is just some.
Oh yeah, it's a great
genre.
thing to just drop to be like, to sound like
I
you know what
about film stuff.
It's French New Wave, or you could do German Expressionism.
Oh,
Expressionism,
really?
That's
Expressionism.
fun.
Okay.
That was really early film. That was Cabinet of Dr. Caligari. That's German Expressionism. It relied heavily on set design and. It's a long. Anyway, I do remember that, so good for Sean.
All right, I will use that.
But on a serious note, I mean not serious as in I'll drop the sarcasm. I did see Ant-Man.
Yeah,
it was an advanced screening, which they do in big cities, and I'm not used to that because I lived in Helena. So
is this through your internship that you had the advanced screening?
No. This was just they tweeted about it. And I was able to get on this website specifically designed to give away tickets to these early showings, and cool. I got tickets. And
that's
so
awesome.
Yeah, it was free. They're there to let people come in and see it for free, and then spread the good word before the release. And so I got to go see it, and we're going to do an official review, but I don't think it's really a spoiler. I did enjoy it. I'm on the positive side. But of course, I'll be seeing it again and have a lovely, all formulated review when the other two losers go see it. Am I right?
Yeah, man. Those losers who have to deal with, regular release schedules. Ugh, what
Peasants.
losers.
Peasants, I tell you.
As far as me,
yes, you were at orientation.
I was at college orientation. For those who don't know, I will be attending Rutgers University in New Brunswick doing digital film. And so they have multiple different orientation sessions because like the freshman class is like tens of thousands. So I was surprised though because I actually met 3 other film students who were there in my orientation group, and we got to talk about a lot of fun stuff. And I saw Inside Out for the second time. And I loved it even more. I don't know if I loved it even more, but it definitely solidifies it as as easily the best film I've seen this year so far. It's
Okay.
it's such a good movie. But anyway, now we are going to get rolling. Before we get into Terminator Genisys and the nitty gritty, I want to pass it over to Sean real quick, who's going to cover the community for the last episode, Jurassic World, but better. SML Studios.
All right. It's the community segment. We should have a jingle. That was beautiful. Hey, I did the jingle. How dare you try to top that masterpiece?
I wasn't trying to top it. Don't worry.
Yeah, because you can't.
Exactly.
Anyway, we don't have too much. On YouTube, Seth just says that he hasn't seen Inside Out and forgot to comment. That's why he didn't comment on the Inside Out review. I buy it, but don't have
All
a
right,
skin,
Seth.
And then apparently he hates Home.
Oh, that's animated.
Oh no, I know
movie.
what Home is, but I'm trying to remember. Like, did we bring up anything?
Oh,
no. What was Max's question? Was it something about animated movies? Like
it was
it
was about if you walked out. Oh, on the Inside Out review, it was just about Inside Out. But Jurassic World was if you walked out of a film and said to yourself, "Oh man, I could have done that better. What would it be?" So perhaps Home works into that.
Home, but better.
But better.
Write that for us, Seth. Write that for us.
Yeah.
But I did want to bring up something, since there's kind of this void, no other comments. It was something kind of fun that I think Whitley's tweeted before. It seemed familiar, that he compared the three of us to the topmost film critics. And I was saying, compare, I mean, that's pretty much what we are, so it's kind of a stupid comparison. But what
honestly,
I mean is, he said, I'm Gene Siskel, Max is Roger Ebert, and Larry, you are Richard Roper. So,
okay.
Yeah.
I think didn't we come to that conclusion at some point between
us?
us?
I think Whitley actually came up with that a little while ago.
Did he? Okay.
But we never brought it up in the podcast, and it's a fun little observation. Now it's like, those are like the big three in that little section of film criticism, and there are three of us. And Max does remind me of anyway.
All right, that's interesting. It did sound familiar. From when I heard it.
Yes, Whitley, I approve of your observation and comparing us to people that have respected opinions on film, because that's not us. Anyway, that's the end of the community segment.
If Whitley's prediction is correct, I outlive all of you. So, aha! Even though I might.
Max is definitely the most famous.
Oh, that's true.
Yeah,
that is true.
Anyway, that's probably how it's going to end up too. Right? Like,
yeah,
dang it,
it's unfortunate.
Max is going to listen to this and feel all special because I'm like praising him or whatever.
Don't worry. When he gets back, we'll keep punching jabs at him.
Good. Restore balance to the
Rule Thirds order. That's the best way that you could have described it. All right, so thank you, Sean. Let's get into Genisys.
Just Genisys. I actually like that spelling. Just for the record, that's the first note. I like that name. I thought it was very clever.
Did they ever have a spelling like that in Terminator before? Or they just
no, Salvation was just straight up Salvation.
Just Salvation.
It wasn't like Rise of the Machines with a Y, because that movie wasn't made by Microsoft. That was a really obscure joke. That was an Xbox One launch title. Rise, Son of Rome, whatever. Move on.
Okay, so for those unaware, real quick, Terminator Genisys is the fifth film in the Terminator franchise. And I guess we'll just quickly go through our Terminator experience.
Yes,
we got to run through it. We should run through it real quick because there are four films. Fan of the first, very entertaining. Second one is fantastic, really well made film. Arguably one of the best action films in the 90s. The third one is I haven't watched in a few years. I'd have to give it another watch. 4 is garbage. That's all I need to say. How about you, Sean?
All right. Well, the first one I'm probably going to watch tonight. The second one is amazing.
Yeah.
Love it. I recently rewatched it just a few weeks ago. Love it.
It's great.
The third one I haven't seen. The fourth one I haven't seen. So that's all I have to say.
All right. Well, you can skip 3 and 4. You just watch 1 and 2.
Really, Genisys showed me, I actually really like the Terminator,
lore,
the mythos, you could call it, like the kind of like the ideas they play with, like how they address time travel, and the machines are always really cool villains. Like, I like this franchise, even though I've only seen 2 of them. So I want to see the other 3, even though a lot of people don't like 3 and 4. I want to give them their shot, and so I will be watching the entire Terminator franchise, and I'll come back when I've seen those films and let you know what I thought. But for now, I've only seen 2, and now Genisys. But I think
the robot design of Terminator is one of the scariest and one of the most interesting robot designs in cinema. Period.
I mean,
it's great.
It's simple. It's It's like
Yeah,
skeletons.
It's simple
like,
yet so frightening. Just scenes
skeletons
where
are the simple, like, just Halloween decoration skeleton. Well, like, let's make them metal and give them lasers. Boom.
And make them almost indestructible.
Yeah.
Boom. There you go. So I mean, like, I guess we'll give our mini reviews before I get into it, because I do have something I wanna give a little just talk about a little bit, just about preconceived notions of the film. But let's give it our mini reviews. For those of you who don't know, we give our mini reviews and a grade, just so that way you guys know what we think about the film. For those who haven't seen it, so you get the gist. And then for people who have seen the film or who don't care about spoilers, after the mini reviews, we go into spoiler territory. We just talk about the movie. So, Sean, I'm going to let you go first.
All right. Well, I'm nervous about this review because I liked Terminator Genisys. And I'm going to have I feel like I'm going to have a really hard time defending it because I don't entirely know why. I mean, I kind of do. I think at the end of the day that I see a lot of smart ideas, a lot of clever things put into this movie that I will totally admit aren't fully, like, used to their full potential. And there's definitely the issue of questions being left unanswered intentionally for sequels, which makes the movie kind of, like, less satisfying in its own right, whereas at least Terminator 2 didn't really do that. But I enjoyed it. I think it's an entertaining popcorn movie with some solid ideas there that just, could have been done better, but could have been done a lot worse too. I feel like this could have been a train wreck where it's like trying to live up to this franchise that, the other two movies failed to live up to, the first two that everyone loved. I don't see it as that train wreck. I think it has a decent amount to offer. I think it's a good way to spend time. I'm not going to praise it to high heavens, but I enjoyed myself, and I feel like Larry's going to rip into it, and I'm going to have a really hard time defending it, so I'm pretty much just going to apology mode. We'll cross that bridge when it comes, which is going to be in about, 10 seconds. So I'm going to give Terminator Genisys a 6.5 out of 10.
You know what's actually interesting, before I get into mine, there's supposed to be 2 other Terminator films. They're supposed to be doing 2 more in the next 2 years.
I think it's spaced out a little bit because they're not filming the next one.
Is it spaced out? I thought I read 16 and 17. Maybe I'm wrong.
I don't think so.
Sean.
Oh, no.
Sean, Terminator Genisys is actually a good film. I enjoyed myself. I enjoyed myself.
I couldn't decide. Like, the way you were building up, I'm like, oh, man, are you doing that thing where, like, you build up way too much? Because you and Max do, like, this build-up thing where I don't think it's really necessary. Or are you intentionally messing with me?
I'm messing with you.
Oh, good.
I did enjoy myself, though.
Yes, okay,
I am
good.
not going to lie. I think the perfect way to describe Genisys for me is that Terminator Genisys is a great Terminator movie. And what I mean,
sure.
My damn phone okay, sorry. It's a great Terminator film because I am a fan of the Terminator franchise. I watched 1 and 2 the same day I saw Genisys. I marathoned them. Cool. And I realized that I really like the characters involved. I really like the story. I like the ideas. And so because of that, Genisys just revels in all of it. It revels in the characters that the franchise holds so dear, the kind of humor, the action. It's a great Terminator film. I mean, it's in my opinion, it is the 3rd film we deserved. That being said, I do agree with you, Sean. There are problems, and some pretty heavy problems.
Yeah.
And I think that mainly has to do with just plot and the way that they handle the time travel, in my opinion. But we'll get into the specifics. But I would be lying through my teeth if I didn't say that I loved watching this film. My theater experience. Okay. My theater experience. I couldn't help but geek out.
There were those moments. Yeah.
When the film just does its best to remind you how awesome Terminator is, just as an idea alone.
Sure, I can buy that.
So much so that I'm actually going to give Genisys a 7.
Ooh. Okay.
I was going to give it a 7.5, but when I was thinking about the issues, I did realize, maybe I'm letting my fandom get it in front of me, block my view. So I'm going to give it a 7.
Yeah. See, I just want to quickly say, like, a lot of, like, the difference between this and, like, Jurassic World, which is kind of the most, it kind of reminds me of Jurassic World in the sense that, like, a lot of people are enjoying it, but people seem to agree on a lot of its problems. For me, the difference is that, like I said, there are a lot of good ideas that just aren't used to its full potential. A lot of really smart ideas, and I'll get into that with a spoiler thing because I think it counts as spoiler, so I'll hold it off. But they're, like, way smarter than what Jurassic World had to work with. So, like, Terminator Genisys had a lot of smart ideas that it did touch on, just not that well. Whereas Jurassic World seemed to just, like, drop the ball completely. but the things were like right under its nose. So like that's the difference. If people are like, now how come you really enjoyed Terminator Genisys and not Jurassic World? That's the big difference, is that there's just that edge of its potential is much like, I don't know, better. So just, I don't know, I guess that's how I'd put it. Like what it could have been is better, which makes me a little less frustrated with it. I don't know. I don't think I explained it well.
All right. Well, let me give you first of all, let's just, because this is kind of dipping into spoilers a bit. What are my 2 cents on what you just said?
Sure. Okay. So begin spoilers. Should we just
we're gonna officially put up the yellow tape. We are doing spoiler territory now. So for those of you who have yet to see the film, please go. It's fun. It's a lot of fun.
Yeah,
I think if you're a fan of Terminator, it's a must see, in my opinion.
Unless some fans are like super upset that it's like rewriting stuff, but guys,
that's true.
It's an alternate
what about
timeline.
X-Men? Well, okay, X-Men...
Same thing. That's alternate.
Yeah, but X-Men didn't make it obvious that they were going to wipe out the timeline.
Yeah. And besides, that's an amazing movie. It's better than Terminator Genisys.
That's true. It's a fantastic film. But actually,
can this podcast like just... Oh, God, I love that movie.
Yeah, it's a great movie. So spoilers. All right. So
spoilers.
A big thing about this film actually does tie into X-Men. Now, if there's one thing that X-Men taught me after watching it, it's that a franchise, if you are willing to rewrite your franchise origins, any franchise can be reinvigorated from the ground up.
Actually,
and I think that's a good lesson. That's a great thing. It's a great thing, you know?
Because, I mean, it's funny. We, complain about the franchise age and like all these reboots and remakes, but I mean, honestly, people, like, it wasn't just me that loved Days of Future Past. Like, now we've got Apocalypse, we have Gambit, we have Deadpool, like, X-Men's back. And a lot of people are going to love those films. And, like, it's a good thing every once in a while that we can sit back and say, how do we do it? If we had the chance to do it again, how would we do it? And they did. Days of Future Past did it. And now Terminator's doing it. So they're doing this alternate version that shows that this core concept of machines from the future sending back to kill, later Resistance, and later Resistance is mother protecting, that setup, it has, like, branching ways it could go. Yeah. And so, especially in sci-fi, which you kind of need to like re-envision franchises like this, because it kind of needs time travel to do it like Days of Future Past and Genesis did.
Well, that's why Terminator is such a perfect franchise to try out that idea with.
This is an ideal franchise because it's all about time travel.
Its lore is embedded into time travel logic.
And the entire point is there is no destiny. There is no fate, right? Wasn't that like the thing that Sarah Connor kept saying in Terminator 2 is a great movie. And she kind of had a speech about that. There is no fate. I think it's no fate. It's like tattooed on her arm or something. That's the whole point. And so the whole point is like, there's no fate. We can change what happens. So, hey, what if something different happened? It's not a stretch for this franchise. It fits it fits perfectly. And I don't know why people were freaking out when they announced it was going to be like this alternate timeline, because I thought, that's brilliant. Actually, okay, that's a lie. Because I hadn't watched any Terminator movies when that was announced. But after I saw Terminator 2 and remembered that Terminator Genisys was going to be an alternate rewrite, I said, that's brilliant.
I sort of had the same experience. It didn't really come to me that I just thought, oh, great, we're going to cash grab on another franchise, blah, 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 franchise age stuff. But then I was sort of, after watching Terminator 1 and 2, I just kind of realized that this is a perfect idea. And something about the franchise age, I think some people don't really give it enough credit. If you are going to expand upon a franchise in new ways to tell new stories, I don't mind a sequel or a trequel or a fourth film or even a fifth film in this case. If you can find a way to take your great characters and tell a new story with them that has some sort of new moral or something like that, go for it. And I think
just play with new ideas. Like this film plays with new ideas.
Totally.
And, can I transition into like review?
Yeah, totally.
Because this is a good jumping off point. Because my favorite part of this movie is how it takes advantage of its existence. And that sounds stupid, but what I mean is, it's coming out in 2015, and so what I love that they did was, okay, here's the history of Terminator. In the 90s. Skynet, right? Isn't it in the 90s that Skynet becomes self-aware?
Well, I mean, it starts. The real story starts in the 80s with Terminator 1.
But when does Skynet become self-aware?
It becomes self-aware in some.
I think it's the 90s.
1994, I believe.
Right. Okay. So it's like human civilization stops at 94, and so the Terminator timeline that there is never saw what we're living right now. And so what I love about Terminator Genisys is that they go back in time to the 80s. They stop that whole thing from happening. But then it comes back again, but in our time. Because this is and it's better. It's easier. That's kind of, I think that was one of the ideas that they should have exploited more. It's easier for Skynet now. And actually they put it in 2017, but let's just say now, because it's pretty much now.
It's pretty much now.
It's easier now, because when the film was being made, they didn't know, where technology would be now. And Skynet wouldn't know in that world. But I thought it was such a brilliant idea to have them, because I didn't know they did this, but they jump ahead in time. Right? Like in the movie, Kyle Reese and Sarah Connor jump ahead in time to 2017. And Skynet's going to try to take over again. But I think it's easier for them because of all of our technology. Genisys is this cloud system linking technology, and it's going to be even easier for them to destroy humankind. And so this is an alternate history that actually makes it easier for them to take over. Do you kind of get what I'm saying?
Yeah, totally.
And if this film didn't come out in 2015, they couldn't do that.
Absolutely not.
We needed the gap between the movies. We needed someone to say, let's revisit this cool sci-fi concept. We needed someone to say, let's revisit this in order for this time period to give it that benefit. Because the other movies didn't have that. They didn't have the benefit of modern society. And the most recent one, Terminator Salvation, was in that apocalyptic future. So it couldn't benefit, even though it was totally made in the technology age that we're now even more so in. But you kind of get what I'm saying? I love that concept of it's easier now. That's cool. That can only happen because the movie came out now. I like that. So that's why I wanted to jump off, because it's we were talking about, it was totally worth doing this reboot kind of, soft reboot, I think is the term being thrown around. It was soft worth it reboot, because they get to play with this concept, which would have been impossible in the previous film. So, huzzah.
Yeah, not only that, I think this movie is just very topical, and it really does feel like a movie meant for right now.
Okay, I wasn't in the know, right? I wasn't exactly in the know when the series was going on. In fact, I was a decade from being born when the first film came out. But was there this fear of machines, that?
What do you mean in 1 and 2?
Right, in the mid '80s, late '80s, what was there this fear of machine? I feel like it's touched upon in a lot of sci-fi, but I don't know if it's a great concept. Don't get me wrong, but I feel like Genisys is more topical than those films.
There is no. I mean, watching Terminator 1 and 2, there is no worldwide panic that machines are going to take over, because nobody really knows about real world. Oh, not even in the real world either. I don't think so.
Because fear of machines, it's been a thing in sci-fi, but I don't know if it was any specific time period. I think totally mid '80s, man. That's when that really kicked in. I don't think that's the case. But here in 2015, the whole fear of kind of artificial intelligence, the kind of connectivity being used as our downfall, technology, it's becoming so realistic of super intelligent, pretty much artificial intelligence. It's become so real. That fear is really topical. Totally. It's such this reality that and again, this is a concept it didn't fully explore.
It did not fully
totally concede that. True. But it's there. Because the whole point of Genisys is that it's just gonna it's gonna go online on every device everyone has, just snap the finger and boom, humanity enslaved. So it's there, just not explored as much should be. Which, by the way, that actually it gives me some. Maybe that's also why I'm a little positive in this movie. I hope, I don't assume, I just hope that these are themes that will carry on through movie 2 and 3 if they get made. Hopefully. And so I hope they carry on this idea of modern day, our fear of artificial intelligence / technology connectivity, kind of being a problem for humankind. I hope it explores that more. But it's here.
Well, as we learn at the post-credit scene.
No.
You didn't stay, did you?
No. Okay, give me a second.
Sean,
okay,
Sean.
Look. Okay. I'll be honest, I really had to use the bathroom.
Dude, it's 2 seconds long. It's not where I can just tell you what happens right now.
Oh, okay. I was just going to go on IMDb and do that.
So they go back into the building, it's dilapidated, and they find the screen, and the blue being Skynet is still alive.
Oh, of course it is. Yeah, Matt Smith, yeah.
Yeah. Okay, so, it's not, the hologram, not actually the human. But,
which, by the way, that was hilarious because, he was the doctor, and it's time travel story.
And I think that was another great concept, just having Skynet be a person.
But
again,
that was cool.
We'll get into specifics. But something I do want to touch upon is I understand that a lot of things aren't explored, and I will totally give you that. But I think
this isn't as smart as it could have been. However, looking back on Terminator 2, it's not that smart of a movie either. It's just really, really good.
Oh yeah, well, Terminator 2 is just well made on a ton of other aspects
it's
besides
a movie doesn't have to be like philosophical to be good. It's just when it seems to go the extra mile to be like brain dead stupid, that's when it bothers me. But it's okay if it's not doing anything super like philosophical. I don't care.
And in fact, it's even more admirable when it tries. I think this movie tries to put out some concepts that are
and
new.
I just don't think it was fully formed. I don't think it was badly handled. I just don't think it was fully formed. And that's actually leading to another point. The movie's a little confusing.
Yeah, I want to touch upon that. I have a spiel for that.
All right,
quick.
Do your spiel. Spiel away, sir.
But I just want to conclude. I really like Genisys. I really like the concept of Genisys. I think the cloud system is so topical right now, and I think it really gave the movie a sense of being. Yeah, and a sense of its time.
It should exist. It
didn't
feel cheap. Like this was a good thing.
Now the thing about the cloud system is that we don't know if it'll ever feel outdated. I mean, we are currently living in a time when things that come out right now, most of the things that come out now, we don't really know if it'll become timeless or not.
Right.
As it goes on, but. We'll have to see if Genisys does become timeless or not, depending on how the movies go and how the timeline progresses. But I just think it was a very smart move to focus on the future and not just the past, which is important.
That sounded like a really on Metacritic, that's the blurb from Larry Freed, Rule of Thirds. That's a little blurb under your.
Well, now it's Larry Freed. Larry Freed presents.
Oh yeah! Congratulations on introducing a word.
Yeah.
Not gonna lie, Larry. That was
What? Larry Freed presents. That's it.
Kind of deflated though, because you're like, I'm creating LLC.
I said I used my full name, it's a very big thing, dude. There's a lot of stuff I'm doing for it.
You unveiled a word, okay? And it wasn't even that exciting of a word.
Whatever. And for those who don't know, Larry Freed presents the LLC. That was the project I was working on. That's it. We're gonna skim over that. Now I want to touch upon probably my biggest problem with the film, and that's the plot.
Yes, and this links into my thing I want to talk about. A little confusing.
Right. Oh, yeah. Okay. I think the biggest problem with Genisys is that it's a bit too riddled in its own lore at times.
Yeah. And that's the thing. I love this stuff. I've created these convoluted, especially time travel. I've done the whole time travel story. Do I plug it? I don't feel like it. I don't want people watching it. I've done the whole time travel story that gets really convoluted and stupid, and I've reveled in it. But even I was like, now wait. Even I was having a hard time following.
See, if I can bring in a few past examples.
Sure.
Let's talk about Back to the Future for a second, time travel, right? What happens with time travel in Back to the Future? Marty meets his family, and things aren't going right, and he starts disappearing, right?
Right.
Easy, simple consequence for time travel. One that has stood the test of time, and it's one that we look to now. You'll interrupt the space-time continuum. That's kind of what the concept is, right? That's all well and good. Days of Future Past, which we mentioned earlier. The way they handle the quote-unquote time travel with Wolverine's being in his mind in the past is it is really smart. It's a little weird to think about just that entire idea, but it gets the job done in a way that you can kind of understand, right? He goes back and he falls asleep in the past, he goes into this
and the consequences are clear. It's very Days of Future Past is not hard to understand. And that's actually my favorite thing about it is because it's all distilled to a single moment.
Exactly.
And the audience will totally understand that.
They get all the logic out of the way right in the beginning. So that way you know what's going on and how it works.
Right. At the climax, it's most important.
Yeah.
People understand. You don't need too much convoluted time travel understanding. You don't have to be a master on understanding time travel and all the cool sci-fi things it's done over the years to understand if Mystique shoots Peter Dinklage, which A, never harm Peter Dinklage. B, if she does that, then future goes bad. If she doesn't, future goes good. It's that simple. And so that's what makes it emotionally work. Because it doesn't rely on the convoluted. Terminator Genisys does a little bit. Yeah, it's a little hard to follow.
Yeah, here's my problem with it. What it does is it does things which are interesting, but there are still questions that never get answered. That's probably my biggest problem.
And a lot of it can be explained away with alternate timeline. How come John Connor can kill his parents and not unexist? Well, because
they skipped over all these events.
He actually came from a different reality where his parents are fine. That was that is the timeline of Terminator 1 and 2.
Right.
So basically what happened was Terminator 1 happened, 2, 3, 4, beginning of Genisys, and then he hopped on over into the rest of Genisys. So, like, his parents being killed doesn't matter because they already had him in Terminator 1 and 2 of them.
But that's a weird thing, though. The thing about dealing with alternate dimensions is that, look, I don't mind if you want to maybe bring up the concept that if you change events, there are so many different dimensions, but in film, unless you're going to go out of your way to show the other dimension, you're in one.
Well, here's the thing. I think they will, because it was hinted that Matt Smith's character is from a Skynet from a different dimension. It's a different Skynet. Because Skynet was defeated. I'm going to pretend in Terminator 2.
Well,
boom. I haven't even seen 3 and 4. That was unfair. I'm sorry, 3 and 4.
Well, okay, so 3 and 4 are less.
At least that's the hint I got, that Matt Smith's Skynet is actually from a different reality Skynet that fled realities instead of went back in time.
And and was able to create human beings to be its
right in
home.
A different, like it tried to create a different,
because we saw see, the thing about Terminator that's so interesting to me is that the timeline is so easy, and like it's so easy to restart, to change.
Yeah,
all you have to do is someone needs to go back even further.
Yeah.
And because that's what we see in this movie. We see
Everyone
a Guardian.
Asked, like, why didn't they send a Terminator back when Sarah Connor was a kid? Well, guess what this movie did?
Here we go. We have a Guardian Terminator sent back to when Sarah was a kid. So that way, the entire event of the big event of the first movie that sets up the whole timeline is stopped. Doesn't even happen. Right. So we already have an incredibly new story to develop.
And Sarah Connor knows everything.
Oh, yeah, and she knows, which is such an interesting idea.
Which, unfortunately, was kind of...
It's
like,
not
honestly,
really explored as much as it could have been.
Oh, yeah, it could have been explored a little more, but I feel like it was a central point of conflict, and that's kind of a good theme of the movie. It was the most interesting
point of conflict.
Yeah, actually, can we just really quickly... The characters were solid. I actually thought Jai Courtney did way better than I expected. I'm usually not a fan of his, but he did okay.
I have always thought Jai Courtney is fine. I thought he was fine in Die Hard 5. I don't remember where I've seen him after that.
Movie, actually, that's not true. I have 5 movies I hate. That's not one of them. I dislike that movie.
Okay, we will episode cinemattack.
Oh, that'd be great.
Roll Thirds podcast episode, movies we hate for whatever reason.
Negativity, yes.
Yeah.
Delicious negativity.
Vicious negativity. So Jai Courtney, I've always thought he was fine. I think here he did pretty good because he was given some dramatic moments, and I think he worked it. I want to give props, though, to Emilia Clarke. Because,
great.
And Emilia Clarke, I've seen her do some stuff on Game of Thrones. I've seen some clips. She's very talented. And I think she has a very hard job.
Yeah.
You are given, I wouldn't say she's the most iconic character. Because think about it, like, there's, okay, the 3 big characters in this movie that return from the other movies, right? Terminator, Sarah, and John Connor, right? Terminator is the same guy, so there's no issue there.
Same actor.
John Connor becomes a completely different character, which we'll get to in a moment. So you can play him differently.
Also, Kyle Reese, but
right. Also, Kyle Reese, but I mean, Kyle Reese never had that much depth to begin with. Sarah Connor is a different character, but nowhere near as much as John Connor is. Sarah Connor still has the same personality,
right? And
still,
I like that because they easily could have done a cop out where it's like, oh well, alternate timeline, now she's a different person. Like, no, she was different but familiar. Like, the character felt like Sarah Connor, who's a great character.
And I think we have to give Emilia Clarke a lot of credit for that, for being a totally different actress, but still maintaining the essence of the character, just without the annoying stupid phase she goes through in the first film. Before she learns about the first film.
So I'll take your word for it, but not in Terminator 2. She's having none of it in Terminator 2.
Oh, none of. Well, I mean, there's this period of time in the first movie where she's like a waitress who's like this kind of ditzy waitress.
The gist of it,
yeah. And part of me kind of wished there was just one little tribute scene where Sarah Connor was a waitress, but then of course the plot actually explains something. Like, that would have made sense. That wouldn't have made sense
unless they were like hiding out and for like a few months and like, well, we need a job, and like then it'd be funny if like she had to be waitress and.
But good for her. Arnold Schwarzenegger.
He's great. Like he was. Like, everyone said it. Everyone says it. Man, he was born for this role. It's just great.
I guess. Okay, he's a robot. Okay, not a robot. He's a cyborg. Sorry. Yeah, technically he is. Well, they make that distinction in the movies.
But that's the thing. He's lost his skin and nothing's happened. So I think a cyborg is like part flesh, part.
Look, I'm just going by the movies, bro. I'm just going by the movies.
I don't know if I totally call him a cyborg.
Robotic skeleton with flesh on top. That's what they say in the first or second movie. And so Arnold Schwarzenegger is allowed to be stiff. He's allowed to be wooden, and he's allowed to be weird when he's trying to display emotion.
Good at being weird. He's good at that.
Yeah, and his smile is so weird. The
I
smile
love
he gives
it.
in this
They
movie.
brought that back from Terminator 2.
It's funny, but it's still pretty
the
weird.
audience was laughing. I was laughing. It was good.
Before we get to John Connor, which I want to talk about a little bit, T-1000 is awesome. Always will be. Something about Terminator 2. Something about Terminator 2 that is just, in my opinion, probably one of the most impressive things about it is its CGI is still so damn great.
Yeah, it's
even
really good.
even now. I'm a little upset because they don't really do anything in Genisys to up the T-1000, but then again, it probably wouldn't have made sense anyway.
Right.
I would have liked maybe...
They tried to do that with like Terminator 3 had, the TX is what it's called?
Yeah, the TX, but that technically wouldn't have... Now they just got rid of that
so
entire
like they
thing.
tried to up the ante previously, and it didn't really work, so they kind of just stuck with T-1000.
I would have liked maybe one or two different kinds of things they could have done with the metal, but I mean, the T-1000 is still awesome, granted, so I'm not going to complain too much. J.K. Simmons, love him as an actor, didn't really get that much to chew on, but he was still good.
He was confirmed to be signed on for the other two movies, so...
Oh, awesome!
Where we might see
cool.
him more. Same with Matt Smith, another character that's like
awesome,
underutilized. It's being built up, and part of that, like honestly, that is kind of a problem with this movie in the sense that I keep falling back to. I hope in the sequels, I hope in the sequels. That is a flaw. We have to acknowledge that because it should be like on its own. It should feel substantial and all that, but. It also, you can't I argue that you can't pretend it doesn't exist in its own context, which is they planned 2 more movies. So what? J.K. Simmons wasn't used too much. We know he's going to come back. Matt Smith, same.
I didn't really mind though that they weren't used that much because they weren't the real center characters.
No, exactly. They felt like minor characters,
and they did good, and they did a good job for what it was worth. What they were given.
Sure.
I like the whole idea of you introduce a brand new character in the past and then bring him in the future, see where he is. Right. And that's a pretty interesting way to just introduce a new character and have him play directly into the story, which is great. Let's talk about Jason Clarke as John Connor. Because for those of you who don't care about spoilers and just want some context, John Connor is supposed to be the leader of the Resistance.
For those of you who haven't seen the trailers,
okay. Now here's the thing. Here's something I want to bring up. I did see the first trailer, but I didn't really watch it that closely, and so I forgot about it because there were so many other things that were going on. And then I saw that tweet from the guy at Slash Film who said that it spoils the big twist that John Connor becomes the villain. And that really pissed me off. So I didn't watch the trailers, and I walked into the movie theater without that idea of the twist happening. That being said, I think the twist is an interesting one. I think it was executed well. I guess the whole reveal was interesting, maybe a bit early.
Yeah.
Which is something I think they could have maybe they could have stretched it out a little bit. But I think it's a very interesting concept.
And also, it's symbolic almost. Where it's
that
this
too.
is a new franchise. Guess what? John Connor's dead.
Well, I mean, the heroic John Connor is dead.
Well, right, but they removed the character John Connor. He's so important in the first movie, so important in the second, main character of the third, well, arguably main character of the second too, but whatever. And then fourth, he's main character too.
Yeah,
he's gone now. We're different.
This is a new villainous John Connor. This is brand new.
So
and they didn't think because Sarah Connor and Kyle Reese didn't have the child.
But I think they will, and I think that's gonna.
Yeah.
Honestly, it seems a little obvious. I think John Connor's the one that sent back the Guardian Terminator to protect Sarah Connor. I think they're John Connor. But they'll probably name something else because that just kind of be weird.
Again, that question is never really asked
I think it will later.
All.
I think it will later.
I know, but again, that's, in my opinion, I don't like that a film, you just have to kind of go to, in the sequel, everything will be explained.
It's a flaw, but I think we should, it's not that big of a flaw because
that's actually, this is the same thing me and you disagree about in the Marvel movies.
I know, because I think
which is interesting.
Pretending that the MCU doesn't exist around these movies is just getting more and more ridiculous.
But again, it's easier to say something like this about Terminator because this is a brand new thing that Terminator is introducing, and it's only one movie.
And it's also a little more obvious about its sequel instead of Marvel movies where it's just referencing upcoming stuff or taking time to get people excited. This was relying on you wanting to tune in for the next movie to get some pretty big answers. So it's not. Yeah, it's a little more of a flaw, I would say.
All right, but just about John Connor, I think my issue with the film as far as John Connor goes is that it tries to have John Connor as the villain and also Skynet. And not only that, just Genisys in general.
Yeah,
because Genisys apparently is Skynet reborn.
Yeah, so we had Genisys/Skynet. We had the T-1000. We had John Connor. We even
the T-1000 was a gag. I was willing to get over that.
We even had new Arnold, like young Arnold,
young Arnold,
which also was an awesome fight. So
it wasn't awesome. How do they do that? Do you know how they did that?
Amazing
how they got that to
CGI.
Work?
Guys, you should see this movie just for like the close-up of young Arnold. Like, wow, that looks
seriously,
so good.
like it's spot on. I also want to talk about some of the effects and action stuff later, after we get over the characters and a little bit more of the plot issue I had. But John Connor, in my honest opinion, his entire character arc reversal is so intriguing to me, and I just think that the entire idea of Skynet being a villain could have been saved. Maybe Matt Smith maybe that whole thing. Well, I mean, the Skynet coming back to life, for instance, that idea, the hologram villain thing. I think that could have been a bit more subtle. It didn't have to be that much of a focus, because I think John Connor as the villain is just more intriguing than a blue hologram.
And so maybe like they should have. I mean, that's clearly like the new trilogy villain, and you would have wanted like put more emphasis on this film's villain, which is John Connor.
Because I think a good way to kind of sum up my issues with what your point was about how they didn't explore things more. They were too focused on starting a trilogy and getting a new villain and getting a plot going than focusing on the really interesting conflicts that these characters are going through.
Okay, that's fair. A little too much time spent on sequel setup. I can buy it.
Which brings,
also I would consider it's a little necessary given that, this
that's
is
true.
Kind of a
I will give you that.
So.
Maybe if they made the plot simpler, then the several questions I have about how some of this stuff works.
Try to simplify the plot, but we understand it's time travel, but you probably could have simplified it a bit, and then, that would have helped it not feel so set-up-y.
Brings it full circle.
Ooh, I like full circles.
After when we got started with the characters, where we talked about the conflict with Sarah Connor, I think that entire idea of just having your life decided for you and just you have to make these decisions. So that way life goes the way it's supposed to go is such an interesting concept, especially with this franchise whose entire lore is based on the concept of time travel.
Right. And also, I mean, I wouldn't say it's repetitive because it is different, but this felt a lot like the theme of Terminator 2. Because Terminator 2 ended with, for the first time, the future's not set. We have a road with a sense of hope. She says, I face the future with a sense of hope. And so, now she can, decide what the future is. And so it was similar. And why I like that, why I think that's really funny is because Terminator Genisys pretty much brought Sarah Connor, who was the main character of this movie, I would argue.
Yeah, I would go that route.
It brought Sarah Connor to the same point as Terminator 2, which is where everyone said that the franchise kind of went wrong. So it's like they're pretty much right where they're at the point of redemption with their biggest character, Sarah Connor. They're now at the point where they can not mess up 3 and 4 like they did. You know what I'm trying to say?
Yeah.
2 ends the same place Genisys does. 2 sequel messed it up. Let's see if Genisys does it. They're right back at that point, and they're going to move forward. It's redemption time. And I think they can do it. This is a promising movie. I'm looking forward to the sequel if it gets made. Apparently, it didn't do great here, but didn't bomb or anything. But apparently, international is going to do really well. So
I don't know. Yeah, international. I think some people think that internationally, that's the only reason this movie got made because they know they do good in international markets.
I think it's going to get a sequel.
I think it'll get a sequel. I don't know. I hope that the sequel continues on these ideas. And I mean, that's not even the start of it. Kyle Reese, the idea of him being in love with Sarah Connor
and being alive
without even having met her.
Oh, that was an interesting concept.
It's a very interesting concept also.
I mean, it was kind of, I guess I didn't find it too weird because it was kind of the idea of I didn't find it weird at all. It was honestly kind of like a celebrity crush.
Yeah.
Because it's all John Connor did was build up how awesome Sarah Connor is, and he has the photo, and it's like, oh man, I want to meet this Sarah Connor. I totally related because Amelia Clark. I mean, kind of a bit of
I got
bit of a celebrity crush anyway.
Well, it happens. Also, they did explore upon this more than I thought they would, but the Terminator, the guardian for Sarah Connor being a father figure.
Yeah, that's a brilliant move.
Well, I mean, because it's Terminator 2.
Yeah, exactly.
Kinda, all over again.
When I say it's new, I mean, it was a possibility in Terminator 2, but then he has to self-terminate. Well, he can't. Sarah Connor had to melt him.
Right.
And so, like, I like that they
Thumbs
did
up.
set that up. And, like, he was a father figure to Sarah Connor throughout all these years.
Oh,
and he'll
out.
continue to. Also, I found, like, no one talks about how awesome it is. Arnold is now a T-1000. Can we acknowledge that?
Yeah, at the end he gets
No
drowned
one
in liquid
acknowledges
metal.
how cool that is.
That
That's
is
so cool.
He opens the door with the blade thing.
He
That's
upgraded.
so cool.
And
Oh
also,
man, I can't wait for the sequel.
Oh, I know. And I was thinking, oh god, that was so cheap just to keep Arnold around. But then I remembered that shot where he disappeared into the liquid metal and his chip was being shown. And he said that's what it needed was an advanced chip to control the metal. So no, they set it up. It works. A lot of people were upset at that, but I'm so on board for Arnold being a T-1000. That's cool.
Me too. It's gonna be awesome. And then just to wrap it up again, John Connor, the entire idea of him realizing the other side is better. They go into that a little bit, but I think that's just I
it's
really
kind of the
wanted to
cliche
get into
of
that.
like corrupted hero. Because actually, I was really starting to get into John Connor, and just the few scenes he had like a really good sense of ethos. Like he had a presence to him, a leadership quality. Like that was portrayed really well. I bought that he was like the leader of the human resistance. And again, it wasn't anything huge because there's only a few scenes, but I started to like the character. I think the character became less interesting when he was all roboted, but whatever.
Well, yeah. I mean, and by the way, just Jason Clarke in general, I thought it was good.
Yeah,
Again,
no,
he had
good.
that ethos. He had that ethos thing.
Yeah.
And I'm surprised you liked him because he was in Dawn. And you didn't like the human characters in Dawn.
No. But he was also in Zero Dark 30. I liked him in Zero Dark 30.
Oh, that's true.
Yeah,
I did
so
not remember
I like
that.
Jason
Whoa.
Clarke. I've seen him in other things. I just can't remember right now. I like him. Yeah, no, he's good. I just don't think the movie did well with its human characters. So.
Okay, that's arguable.
Oh, Max isn't here to yell at me.
Oh no,
I
grr. Man, why do I have to be so accepting of other people's opinions?
I'm having none of that here.
And I just wanna bring up one thing about the plot that kind of bothers me.
All right.
I hate how they handle two of the same people being in the same place. Kyle Reese, his
young
kid
Kyle
form,
Reese? Oh, that was
literally he talks to him, but it makes no sense.
Yes, it does. That's alternate Kyle Reese. So
yeah, but they're in the same time. They're in the same universe, though.
No, they're in the different. Remember, this is a different universe. This is the rewritten universe. That's the whole point of the movie. So basically, Kyle Reese is born after Apocalypse, and then parents I assume are dead, and then he's running around, and a Terminator's about to kill him, and John Connor saves him. That's at the beginning of the movie, which by the way kind of messes with Terminator Salvation, but whatever.
Yeah, that too.
Everyone's ignoring Terminator Salvation apparently, so
yeah,
that'll be
it's
fun when I
garbage.
get to that movie.
It's garbage.
I'm going to give it a fair shot because I actually saw some clips.
Go ahead.
Of
I'm just not.
But anyway,
I'm just not a fan.
This is the timeline where Judgment Day never happened in the 90s. So his parents just had him like normal, and he's just had a normal life. He's just a normal kid.
But how does Kyle Reese from the future play into that though? They have the same footprints and the same prints in general.
Genetically had the same parents, and so we can just assume that he was born at the exact same time because genetically egg cell, sperm cell. Whatever. I don't want to get into this with you, Larry.
Yeah, but see, this is my issue though. There are some questions. People go back and then forward, and then dimensions are crossed, and just there's
only one. There are two dimensions. I mean, two realities. Well, three. There is Terminator 1, 2, 3, and I guess we can say 4, maybe. Hopefully. As one, and then the beginning of Genisys, Kyle Reese is sent back to a different reality this time. And in that reality, we're going to get the next two movies, and that's the one where the Guardian was sent back, so Sarah Connor was attacked when she was young. That's where Terminator 1 didn't happen, Terminator 2, and all those didn't happen. That's the one where now John Connor is dead. That's the one where now Skynet is Genisys and it's more advanced and it's going to strike again.
And John Connor from Dimension 1 comes to
right.
Timeline
so
1
John
comes
Connor
to 2.
John Connor is the same that jumped into this dimension. Because John Connor doesn't exist yet in the Genisys dimension. Reality.
Oh, okay. I guess if you kind of keep in consideration
the third dimension that will be addressed in the sequels, I assume, is the dimension where Matt Smith's Skynet is from. Unless the twist is it's from the Genisys reality. I hope they do that because that would actually be really clever. It's a loop. Because it could start when humankind's more advanced, it gets more advanced, it can jump between dimensions, it jumps over into the other Terminator. I thought that'd be clever. Anyway.
All right. So I guess if you kind of consider the fact that if a character was born in Dimension 1, they can kind of hop to Dimension 2 and be their own person, I guess then it makes sense. I still don't like that idea.
Oh, I did. I love that. I like the talking to past self. That's cool. Days of Future Past did it. Wow. There are a lot of similarities to Days of Future Past.
Yeah, but the logic of Days of Future Past is different. Yeah. Just the way they handle time travel. We can get into that. Maybe time travel in movies would be a fun discussion.
Really good topic.
Okay, so just plot questions that weren't answered. It was a bit riddled in its own lore and all the different things that would happen, but that's it
again,
for me.
I'll just defend it as hopefully the sequels will address it and it will become less of a
Hopefully.
concern, but it is still a negative. I will concede that.
So very quickly, I don't think there's that much to say, but we should touch upon action and the look of the movie.
Yeah, I thought it was solid.
Solid.
For me, it didn't look too Terminator, but the problem is that the last Terminator movie I saw was decades ago, and so just film looks different. So maybe if I saw Terminator 1, then 2, then 3, then 4, so it's visually evolving with the cameras, physically cameras are evolving. Maybe it would still feel more Terminator, but the jump from 2 to 5, it didn't have the same feel to it as Terminator 2, but I don't know what I expected.
Actually, fun drinking game. Watch Terminator 1 and 2. Whenever
18, Larry.
Oh, whatever. Whenever glass is broken, whenever the Terminator punches a glass window or a big glass thing breaks, take a shot. You'll be dead before 2 even starts.
Mm-hmm.
So I think that's just an interesting motif they go through. Maybe there's something symbolic in that.
Hey, shattering glass looks cool.
It does look cool.
A lot of action movies do it.
Yep, a lot of action movies. And robots. Robots being destroyed in action movies. The thing that Terminator, in my opinion, something that makes Terminator is how beautifully disturbing certain scenes are. Terminator 1 has the big thing where the body still moves. Sarah Connor's about to die, and they think they've killed the Terminator, but it comes back to life even though its body has been ripped from its torso, and it keeps going. Crazy reveal. You never see it coming. Terminator 2 does quite a couple of things, honestly. The T-1000, the Terminator's hand being cut off, the T-1000 being all stretched out after getting something shot in his chest, some sort of explosive. Just that is frightening.
Yeah.
And then, of course, the Terminator, actually two things. One, the robot, obviously, just the flaming eyes of the robot in general. And, of course, the very sad and kind of beautiful, though, scene of the Guardian being melted. The lava.
Oh, that's such a good scene.
It is great.
I know now why you cry. Oh,
in this movie, in my opinion, that scene is when there's a few, but really the main scene is when John Connor is on the magnet and he moves forward.
That was really
and
good
his body his shadows in the body.
Yeah, that was a great effect. You know what? I'm glad you reminded me of that. I'd forgotten.
Good. It's so good. I was watching that and I'm like, oh my God, this movie gets it. This movie gets why Terminator is so fun and so rich with awesomeness.
Just a good transition to action. Did you notice it was PG-13?
Yeah, I did. I knew about it. I was kind of worried.
I know you but did you notice in the film? Because for me, nothing stuck out. There's a lot more. There's bloodier stuff in Terminator 2, but I was happy that it didn't seem like it was it
was held back because of its PG-13ness.
It wasn't held made back for youngins, for sure.
I guess a big thing about that is that a lot of the characters aren't made of blood.
Yeah,
don't have blood in them. So when they get attacked and stuff, they either show that weird cell thing that John Connor has, or Skynet just disappears, or whatever.
Yeah.
I guess they could have added blood. I don't think it would have added anything to the movie, honestly, if they made things bloody.
Yeah,
it just would have made things
I don't think it lost anything by being PG-13, so good for you.
Yeah, and the action was really good. The bus scene, the bus flip is awesome.
That bus flip was impressive. That was
totally.
On the whole, I think the action was good. I loved the moment where Arnold jumped out of the helicopter and smashed into the other one. The music started playing. Dun, 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 dun. That was really cool. Dun, dun. But nothing else really jumped out. But the bus set piece was brilliant. The flip and then them trying to climb out, and then it falls around them. Very Uncharted 2, for anyone who's played that game.
Yes,
Very Uncharted 2. But yeah, on the whole, it was good. It definitely moved well. I really liked the opening battle sequence. I thought that was really cool.
That was also great. Also,
in the future, yeah.
Also, the transportation scenes. I think those are really cool. Just the way the sphere goes around.
Yeah. That was cool.
And especially how they explain how you go to different timelines. When something so crazy happens in one timeline, you notice it.
Yeah.
You sort of move to another one. It's an interesting concept. I don't know if it makes a lot of sense, but, whatever. Also, when John Connor is fighting the Terminator or the Guardian in that transportation thing, because obviously anything that doesn't have... anything that isn't living can't make it through. And that was beautiful. I think that was just great how the music just sort of swelled and stuff. That was awesome. So that's pretty much it, I think, about Terminator. I guess we should just wrap up. Again, I think I just want to touch upon the main thing, the main problem, besides for the plot, is I think the movie's too focused on getting a plot going, even though it's understandable, but it would have been nicer if if the character conflicts, which there are plenty of that are interesting, could have been expanded upon. That's really the main problem I have with it.
Sure. And I guess just my closing thoughts would be, I really like a lot of the ideas here. Hope they're explored more in the future, but I'll take what I can get. It's not like an exceedingly, mind-blowing sci-fi movie, but it's a good summer blockbuster, solid entertainment, definitely worth your money if you're interested. So, yeah, I'm definitely positive. I enjoyed it. So, yeah,
it's also
6.5
a ton of
for
fun.
me, 7 for you. Yeah, no, it is fun.
So much fun to watch.
It's good. No, it's definitely good entertainment. Yeah,
I'm gonna say it again. If you're a Terminator fan, must see. In my opinion, Genisys is the third film that we deserved really when it came out.
It's such a great,
it's
great
such
theme.
a good theme.
It's pretty
but anyway,
much the theme. Like, there's that really nice,
totally.
sad, lame. Everyone wants the
totally. Also, last thing, the nuclear apocalypse when Judgment Day happens.
That was insane. Thank you for reminding me.
Always gets me.
Like, I
even
just
in
saw
the second
San Andreas. That blowing up of San Francisco was nothing compared to this. This is it was only like 4 shots. That is my favorite nuclear apocalypse sequence ever. That looked unbelievable.
It's like big city destruction, in my opinion. There's 2 that come to mind immediately. The one from G.I. Joe, Rise of the Cobra, where they shoot that thing down in I think it's London, Paris?
I think that's 2. I think that's Retaliation.
Oh, Retaliation. Sorry.
Because I haven't seen Rise of Cobra, but I've seen that
That's
scene.
what I meant. That's what I meant.
Okay,
Retaliation, where that whole city gets blown up.
Right.
That's awesome. And then this.
Yeah.
3 billion lives, people. That's how many died in Judgment Day.
That's really morbid to say,
effect.
but man, was it worth those 3 billion fictional lives. Worth it.
Worth it. Hashtag worth it.
Worth
so
it.
we're done with Terminator. As you can see,
yes.
we both. This is a fun conversation.
Yeah, I'm
I
glad
had a lot
we're
of
both
fun
positive
talking about this.
I was actually really nervous about the whole move, the whole time. I'd be like, but Larry, come on, like this, and I'd have a really hard time defending it. But I'm glad we're both on the positive side because I did enjoy this movie.
We both agree. We see each other's ideas and faults and loves of the movie.
At the end of the year, it might be on the back 10 of my favorites.
I almost with
enough.
This year, I don't want to say anything, but I guarantee it's probably in the 10.
Okay,
it'll probably
I can
be
see
in
it
the 10.
happening for me.
Because
we'll see.
I make my list of movies personally. I don't really go as much so for just best cinematically as much as just my personal favorite films.
That's how it should be.
So. That hopefully it'll make the 10. Before we go, obviously, we are going to do another segment of our Fantasy Movie League.
I'm doing the beautiful tier bringing audience to tears
you got the community segment jingle.
I know.
I get the Fantasy Movie League jingle.
Okay.
So to do that, we're going to hand it over to Sean, who's going to talk a little bit about it.
Yes, I am. So I sucked this week.
Yeah, you sucked, bro. You sucked hard.
I so misjudged. I thought Magic Mike was going to just do awesome because the first one had become a bit of a cult classic. So I thought, man, when the sequel hits, all the people that really liked, the first one wasn't that big of a hit, but it's still well enough to get a sequel, obviously. But it, picked up after it was in theaters. It's one of those movies. And so I thought the sequel, man, it's going to kick in the door, make tons of money. Max and Larry won't know what hit them. Yeah, that was my arrogance back then. So I am at 4th this last week with 66.1 million.
Very quickly, for those who don't know, the new releases this week kind of didn't really have much of an impact. It was, if you just want to know, at 4th place was Magic Mike, and at 3rd place was Genisys. And I just want to point out, the match for 1 and 2 was ridiculous.
Oh, it was close.
Between Jurassic World and Inside Out, it was by a couple 100,000, which I think is incredible that Jurassic World has that much staying power. It still beats out Inside Out in its 5th week, I think.
Well done.
That's incredible.
Well, I don't think you deserve
Seriously.
it. Seriously. That's none of my business. Anyway, in 3rd place was Genisys. Is that how we just, yes?
Seth. It's Seth.
You know what?
It's Seth.
I'm never going to say that word again. It's hard for me to say Seth. Your name is Seth. I'm going to call you Seth. With 83.6 million, 83.7, I'll round up. So a big jump over resident expert John Capdeville. So 83.7 million. And then Max was another solid jump with 93.7 million, so a 10 million jump. And then Larry actually took the crown this week with 97.1 million at box office.
I'm telling you, the only reason that is what it is because I had Jurassic World in the lineup, which made way more money than any of us were expecting.
Good call.
Gotta say. You know how it goes. And we have 2 new competitors. We have 2 new people. Yeah.
Who could they be?
I don't know.
Mysterious. A wild finish.
That's the name of one theater. A WoW finish.
A WoW finish. Wow. That's just like not ringing any bells for me, Sean Capdeville. Obsessed with Casablanca. I'm just... that would be my dad.
Hi, Mr. Capdeville.
I'm like
thanks for joining.
99% sure because I can't think of anyone else that would be joining that listens.
Well, what about lame chick flicks art?
That would be
Cineplex?
my mom.
Oh wow, that's
So my parents
hilarious.
Yeah,
that's hilarious.
Yeah,
Nice. We got the whole Capdevilles playing.
Yeah, we've got the you know what? I will text my sister and be like, get on it. We're gonna have the Capdevilles in here.
I've been telling my friends left and right.
So
I've been telling my friends left and right to join the league or to join Fantasy Movie League in general because it's so much fun. I have a lot of fun researching and doing stuff for this game.
That paid off this week.
And we should also note, I am at number 2 now on the season lineup. I have surpassed Sean.
Took my spot, so I'm 3rd. Well, I'm over it.
Okay.
Flip.
Oh, well.
Anyway. So now we need to do our picks. I'll just really quickly do mine. Since I'm already talking, I don't feel like stopping. This is a mess this week for me. Like, this makes no sense. I'm probably going to do terribly. But I had to do Minions because I think it's just going to explode. Even with Inside Out, I think Minions is going to make a disgusting amount of money. Like, it's going to be ridiculous, you guys. If we have another $1 billion movie, I would not be that surprised, honestly. So I have Minions, and then I just have The Gallows because the horror crowd, it's a little dry. I know the horror movies recently, so I think that's going to do well. And then it's just a complete toss-up because I had such little money left, so I just did San Andreas, Me, Earl, and a Dying Girl, which I've heard great things about. Dope, because the agency I'm interning at made the trailers for it. And then 3 Age of Ultrons, because I will not let that die. Because I love me some Age of Ultron. Anyway, Larry, your picks.
So here's the thing. Minions costs a lot. For those who don't play this game, you get $1,000 to spend on getting movies, and Minions is 854 of those. Yeah. And when you take Minions, you aren't left with enough, in my opinion. You can get one Inside Out, but even if you decide to get Inside Out, you have even less to choose from. So I am going to not have Minions. I'm going to skip on Minions.
I think that's really risky. Larry,
I know it is really risky, but in my opinion, I am hoping that the sum of my parts will make up a bigger whole.
Yeah, okay.
Than Minions.
I don't know. We'll see what Max does.
We'll
He's not here to tell us the picks, but I'm very curious if Max goes with Minions.
If I screw up, then we'll just be right back where we started.
Yeah,
I'll be back in 3rd. So my Cineplex has no Minions. Instead, I have 1 Jurassic World, 2 Terminator Genisys.
That's plural for Genesis, you guys.
Seriously.
In the Bible, we can read the book of Genesis. Genesis 1 and 2 is a Genesis.
the books of Genesis. 2 Inside Outs, 1 Gallows, 1 Magic Mike, and then 1 Me and Earl and the Dying Girl.
Okay, yeah, that's good.
So we'll have to see. Will the sum will the parts make up a bigger whole than just the one?
You've got a bunch of medium movies. Will that be enough to take down what I think was going to be a massive hit?
I'm just hoping the hit isn't too big. I'm hoping nothing more than like an 80. I'm hoping. Really hoping.
I think it's going to do really, really well. I think you're going to be upset next week.
All right. Well, we'll have to see.
Viewer, that ends the Fantasy Movie League segment. So tune in next week when Larry rues the day. He did not choose Minions.
Hey, look, okay. I know I gave you that whole hard time in the beginning about Magic Mike, but I've gotten over it. So let's not drag on it now. So yeah, Fantasy Movie League. All right, that's over. So that's it for this episode of Terminator Genisys. Again, if you want to join the Rule Thirds League, you still can. Password is cinemattack.
Yes, so just find Rule Thirds is the name of the league, and then the password is cinemattack, no caps or spaces, just cinemattack.
Yeah, and the password should be in the description also, and a link to the website to sign up, fantasymovieleague.com. Yes.
Also, it feels like we're sponsored because we've made it a segment we're not. Like we just
we're not sponsored at all. We're just having a lot of fun, and this is really fun for me. I have a lot of fun doing it.
It was my idea, so I'll take credit for your fun.
And I will give you credit for it.
Huzzah.
And so that ends our episode, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you so much for listening. I know this went on a little long, but
especially
to be
because
fair,
there's only 2 of us. You'd think it'd be really short.
But to be fair, though, I think everything we said had substance, and I think it was really good that we got our opinions out. And of course, the question of the day is very simple. Terminator Genisys. What'd you think? Leave a comment down below. And
also,
if you
know, can we just ask, like, what's your favorite time travel movie? It doesn't have to be. You know what? Let me rephrase that. Not necessarily like what movie involving time travel is your favorite, but like the way they handle time travel. So let us know if you want to let us know what like handling of time travel you like best. Let us know in the comments or on Twitter. Keep it kind of brief though, because we don't want to read like 3 paragraphs.
Also, I want to have my own 2 cents. If you had a franchise that you think could be reinvigorated with time travel that you'd like to see, what would it be? Tell us.
Wow, those are a lot of really good questions. I hope people respond.
Three-pronged question. It's the trident of Rule 30
Honestly,
questions.
forget about the Genisys thing because it didn't do that well, so we assume people didn't really see it. We don't care what we thought.
Some of you probably haven't even seen Terminator Genisys.
Yeah, we don't care compared to the other 2 questions. I really want to hear those.
But
so please let us know.
You should see it though. It's good. We had fun. It's worth it.
Yeah, just give us a number if you've seen it and what to reflect what you thought. But then answer one of those questions because I'm curious.
Yeah, totally. Anyway, so that's it.
You know, I'm just gonna. Just answer Larry's. It's way more interesting than mine.
Okay, there you go. That's the official
question.
Give us
a number for the Terminator Genisys question, a word as in a movie title for your favorite time travel handling, and then give us like a few sentences on Larry's because that's how you should do it. I hope someone does do that exactly because that'd be cool.
Yeah, it's a 3-pronged question. I like it. It's awesome. Anyway, this is it. This is for sure. I'm telling you.
All right.
Thank you so much. Okay. Again, just a big thanks if you listen. It's always awesome to have viewers. And just remember, we are all over social media, Facebook, Twitter. Now we're on Fantasy Movie League. We have another thing. Email, stuff. Please contact us, comment, and let us know what you're thinking about all this stuff. Until then, my name is Larry.
My name is Sean. Oh, and my name is Sean. I'm used to having that third person. So. You'll hear us later.
See ya.
Yeah, I just said if you weren't going to say it, that's become like kind of the outro catchphrase, and I like it. You'll hear us later.
You'll hear. So we're going to do that. All right. So,
I think we should do it. You'll hear us later.
So I'll just do it for the first time. You'll hear us later. That was good.
Babies first. You'll hear us later. Like it.